So I got an email sometime yesterday, Sunday afternoon, that would have been June 16th, saying that there was going to be a bonus day of the Game Has Changed event. So sure enough, Dean got back on today. Tony Robbins wasn't on there, but there was a bonus day of the Game Has Changed live event. And as I did the previous 2 days of it, days 2 and 3, I didn't watch live, but I went back and watched it at double speed. And actually, for this, it was much shorter than the other day. So if you were to go back and look at it, it would probably be about 2 hours real time and about an hour of just going at it at twice the speed. So again, this was not June 13th, 14th, or 15th. This was June 17th today. And so it really was an extra day, basically, to clarify some things about the Mastermind Business System, which they're offering for $997. And what they say about that system is that it has the right map, it has the right guide, including this AI that's been trained on words and content from Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. And this is, again, a depiction of what Gigi might look like. And so she helps you out with trying to come up with coaching or mastermind or some kind of course that you might want to build, and that along with the right tools with the all-in-one business hub, which is kind of similar to kind of some type of software as a system thing where you basically can take payments, you can build funnels. I'm sure there's all kinds of things that you can probably do in that system. And so again, they're offering it for $997, and I think they're offering it through Friday of this week. So starting starting when this entire thing started around June 13th or 14th, and going all the way through the 21st of June. So if you haven't gotten it yet, I'll show the website at the end where you could go to that, and if you're interested in the Mastermind Business System. So he talked a little bit, and most of it was about clarifying things, really trying to work on motivation for people, really getting people to not just hear all of the information that he and Tony and others had given and then just go back to the way things were before. So he had this thing that he was calling 10 things in 10 minutes. And so I'll just go through those briefly. And then he brought on two special guests, one that was there live, and then Jim Kwik was also kind of remotely, he was the second person. He remotely had some things to say that were useful. And so the first thing he talked about was resources versus resourcefulness. Now, of course, resourcefulness is more important because if you're low on resources, being able to be resourceful, meaning make the most of whatever little resources you have, the resourcefulness is more important. But the thing he is essentially saying is get these resources of the Mastermind Business System and couple that with resourcefulness, and you'll have a great combination. Then he talked about choosing faith over fear. Now, again, all of these things ultimately are getting back to really trying to persuade people to pull the trigger on this system that he's putting out there. So he said, choose faith over fear, to think about what could happen, what the good things that you're wanting to happen rather than dreading the things you don't want to happen. Then he mentioned something interesting. He said ROI versus COI. So I was thinking to myself, okay, what's COI? I know what ROI is, which is return on investment. That the idea of return on investment is if, let's say, I invest $10 in buying a book, let's say from my Amazon bookstore, and I spend $10 on that book and I sell it for $100, then my return on investment is going to be whatever profit I get after paying myself back the $10 and after whatever fees that Amazon takes out. So let's say Amazon takes out $20 in fees. I don't think it should be that much, but if they did, then my return on investment is $70. So would I pay $10 to buy a book that I know I can make $70 on? The answer is, well, probably so. I did this, for example, I bought a $100 set of books a few weeks back that sold for $1,000. And so would you pay $100 at a estate sale for a set of books if you know you can sell it for $1,000? Yes. Now that's one way of looking at investment, return on investment. But the other way to think about whether or not to pull the trigger on something. So for example, I was thinking, do I really pay $100 for this set of books? I knew I could sell it, but still it's $100, and that's a lot more than sometimes I would pay for a book. But the idea is, what is the cost of inaction? And so if I do nothing, well, then I certainly uh, save myself $100, but I also wouldn't have made the $600 or $700 profit that I eventually did when that set of books sold. So there's a cost. That means I would have lost out on $600 or $700 by not buying that $100 set of books. But fortunately for me, I did go ahead and buy it, and I did get to sell it for $1,000. So ROI versus COI. We want to think of not just the positive that can happen, but also what is the what is the what is the positive that you would miss out on if you don't act. Then he talked about not choosing expenses over investment. That sometimes we spend a lot of money on a lot of things, and then we don't want to spend on investment. And he would be saying that the Mastermind Business System is an investment that you should make. Then he said, choose to say no so you can say yes. Now, this had to do with something similar to one of the things I talk about in my faith first system of organizing my life. The idea here is that you want to really take out a lot of the things in your life that aren't really propelling you forward, aren't really helping you make progress, so that you can have the space to say yes to other things. This is, again, all of these things are somewhat tied together, and all of them in some way would encourage people to, or persuade people to purchase the system. And then finally, out of this section, these first six, commitment over convenience. So it's easier many times to not act. And he is saying, make a commitment and act. And that is something that you should be thinking in terms of. Next, he talked about making a schedule. So he said, well, if you, number 5 was talking about how you get rid of some things in order to be able to say yes to more things. And so after you have taken a lot of things out of your schedule and created space, now you can really schedule aggressively those things that will move the needle in your favor. Next, he asked, what voice are you going to listen to? This gets back to faith over fear. There's a voice of faith that often rises up in us. If you think about the person on one shoulder or the person on the other shoulder, figuratively whispering into your ear, what voice do you listen to? Do you listen to the voice of faith, the voice that says, this is why this is going to work, this is why this will happen? Or do you listen to the fearful voice that says, this is why it won't work, this is why it won't happen, these are the bad things that can happen? And so, of course, he's urging you to listen to the positive voice. Next, he talked about how this first step is always the scariest. So for those people that were probably on the fence with regard to this program or this system, it's supposed to be something that would be scary, but on the other side of that fear or that scariness are a lot of the things that you're looking for. Finally, your certainty must be stronger than anyone else's. And so if you're starting a new endeavor in entrepreneurship and business, you have to believe it. You have to be certain about it more so than other people. And so these were his 10 things in 10 minutes that he had there. But again, most of today was about answering questions and really reassuring people who would be purchasing the system, and also giving some feedback. There were people that already had rave reviews about the system, and he had a lot to say about that. So next, he brought on Heather Monahan, who is a speaker and author. She's a former media executive who at one point was fired from her position and needed to pivot. And so someone asked her about writing books, and she thought of herself as, she has a sister who's an attorney, and growing up, she always thought of herself as being the one that's not smart, and my sister is the one who is smart. But she dropped that label and went on to write a book that went #1 on the business biography list. Apparently, it edged out Donald Trump, whatever book he had written at the time. And so she was very pleased with that. And one of the things she said here was, stop making it about you, and make it about that person whose life you will change. And so a lot of times we can get, if we're starting a business or doing something in entrepreneurship, it's very easy to lose sight of the people that you would be able to help. And this is something that she's really trying to get at. The next speaker was Jim Kwik, who is world-renowned brain coach. He told some stories about how he did some work with one of the casts of the X-Men movies, and so he met Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry and Jennifer Lawrence and some others, and he helped them with learning lines and doing memory work. But that's not how it started out for him. He has a book called Limitless. Uh, there is an extended or an updated version. I believe I read the original version and not the updated version, but there'll be a link in the description if you're interested in checking out the book. He gives his frameworks for how to improve memory, how to read faster, and he even talks some about nutrition and things that you could eat and help yourself with better brain health and better memory. But he actually didn't start off, he didn't live his life always having what he would call a healthy brain. He said that his inspiration was his desperation. As a young child, he had a brain injury where he fell and hit his head very hard, and he just had trouble reading and understanding things ever since that point. And he told a story about how at 18 years old, he was thinking about dropping out of college, and he had a friend that was going home. The home was away from wherever the college was they were at the time, and his friend asked him if he wanted to come along. So during the winter break or whatever it was, he went and met this friend's father, and the friend's father had a lot of questions to ask him. And it was a very well-to-do area that they were in. He was highly successful, and he asked him a lot of questions. And one of the things that Jim says is that reasons reap rewards. One of the things his friend's father told him to do was to write down the things that he wanted to do in the future and why he wanted to do them. And after he'd written them out and got ready to put them in his pocket, his friend's father grabbed the papers and started reading the things out loud, which really irritated or made Jim feel some kind of way. And so he eventually convinced Jim to go and start reading and trying to read more. And what he found out over the course of time is that there were ways that he could learn and read faster and memorize more. And now he has been doing this for 3 decades and is well known for being able to do this. So he was able to reverse the effects of the brain injury. And I think he would say that a lot of the issues that he had were not so much that his brain was so injured, but some of the limiting mindsets and beliefs that he had. So he says, we are best suited to support the person we once were. And so his work is helping people to use their brains more efficiently and to be healthier. And he was at a place where he needed that. And he even helped a young woman who needed to read books very rapidly. He helped her to speed read. And she actually had a mother who had cancer that was terminal. And she was wanting to read as much as possible to try to figure out how to help her mother heal, because the doctors gave her mother no chance. And because of this speed reading that he was able to teach her, she was able to read enough and find the information that she needed to help her mother be cured of terminal cancer. And this was something that shifted everything for him. He saw how important this work is. He said, knowledge is power. Learning is your superpower. So that's his thing, really teaching people how to learn, because that's generally not what schools do, for instance. That's why you're here on YouTube. There's a lot to learn here rather than what you might learn in school. So that was it. After that, Dean kind of made one last impassioned push to get people to purchase the Mastermind Business System. Again, it's $997. If you're interested in it somehow, go to joinmbs.com. If this is before June 21st, 2024, you can go to joinmbs.com and get access to that system. Otherwise, it won't be available, or it's certainly not available at whatever the current price is. So that was that event. So there were a few more nuggets from Jim Kwik and from Heather Monahan today, and Dean had a couple of nuggets as well. And so hopefully this saves you a little bit of time rather than watching for 2 hours or even speeding it up like me and watching it for an hour. So that's all for today. Till next time, thanks for watching.